Well, hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our event today. Here at the Wilmington Public Library, we are celebrating Black History Month. And this year, we decided to honor the life and career of Miss Lynn Whitfield. Miss Whitfield has had an amazing career. It has spanned 4 decades where she has utilized her craft, her treasure, her talent to help us better understand the African-American experience in films like The Women of Brewster Place and Johnny Mae Gibson, the first Black female FBI agent. I mean, she has given voice to African-American women in Eve's Bayou and The Wedding. She has introduced us and helped us to demystify the Black aristocracy. But most importantly, her indelible imprint was resurrecting the life, legacy, and accomplishments of an American hero, Miss Josephine Baker, of whom up until the debut of the film, we had almost forgotten about her. So Miss Whitfield, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a lovely, lovely introduction. Thank you.
You know, this year marks the 30th anniversary of the HBO film, The Josephine Baker Story. Would you tell us what did Josephine Baker teach us?
Oh, I can start with what Josephine Baker taught me, you know, experiencing her, embodying her. I feel like it was like yesterday. I remember all of the magic. She taught me the importance of having your own vision. She taught me courage, which I'm not so sure I have held on to the kind of courage that she taught me, because if you imagine, I'll just start to elaborate. In this time period, you know, in the 20s, this little Black girl from St. Louis is, first of all, placed in Harlem at the height of the Harlem Renaissance and all that was going on. Her ability to compete, her thirst to be at the center of things and have people see her. So she takes this tour into Europe, and lo and behold, she sees an opening and she grabs the golden ring and takes the opportunity and seizes it and makes a space for herself. So the audacity to make a space for yourself in the world is another thing that she taught me. She taught me the importance of understanding that the African-American experience, what we have experienced, is both a legacy and sometimes a scar. And it's up to us in how we process it, you know? In much of her processing, she was a fearless leader. And in some of it, she, you know, fear got the best of her sometimes.
So how were you able to know her so intimately? How did you land the role? Tell us everything.
All right. My friends here, all of you, I want you to know that this was the most challenging audition process I have ever been through in my life. So I get a call in Los Angeles, and they say they're doing the Josephine Baker story, and they want you to come in and audition and be put on tape. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I am not going to be put on tape with bad lighting and seeing everybody else that's competing in the waiting room and all that on at auditions, you know, because people can be sweet but everybody's really competitive role, you know? And so I didn't want to have to experience that. I wanted to focus. So I decided to produce my own audition tape. And I took all of like a month or more to do it. I got Michael Peters. I don't know if you remember him. Michael Peters, who, you know, choreographed Dreamgirls and Beat It and Thriller, an amazing
I
dancer.
think we have, I think we have a check.
You have what?
You're breaking up on us a little bit. Yep.
Oh, I am? Is that
Okay.
better?
That's much better now. Now, what did you just say? You had, you broke off after Michael Peters.
Yes, Michael Peters, who choreographed, who was the co-choreographer of the musical Dreamgirls, and he did the music video for Michael Jackson, Beat It and Thriller. So I had him work with me on the banana dance and creating all of that, and sort of whip me into shape so that I could get the essence of the period and her movements. I worked with my vocal coach on being able to sing J'ai des amours, and worked on the aging. And it was so funny because in my tape, you know, when I'm introducing all of the, I had like little dolls there that nobody could see, but just so I would specifically each member of the Rainbow Tribe. And I produced the tape. So when I finally went in to meet the director and to audition in person, he said, you know, I'd rather think that if we'd let you go, you would have produced the whole movie. And so I got their attention, yay. And then after that, I had about 3 or 4 auditions, and it kept thinning out and thinning out. And so the final audition, the director comes over and says, "Oh, darling, you did a magnificent job. You've done so well. And now we're moving on to New York and London too." I was devastated. I said, and you know, there was something in me, some kind of, or maybe Josephine jumped into my spirit, because I said, they are so stupid, because I know that I'm the one to do this. Lo and behold, they went on to New York and went on to London and did all of that. And I got word they have cast Irene Cara and Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll was a contender.
Whoopi Goldberg was a contender.
Whoopi?
There is not
No way.
a woman of melanin who could act, dance, or sing who wasn't putting themselves. Yes. And so Diane Carroll was going to be the older Josephine, and Irene Cara was going to be the younger Josephine. Well, let me tell you, this has, you know, many wonderful rewards, but it can also be so disappointing. And I tell you, I was so, let me get a little bit closer so y'all can really see. I was so disappointed that there's a hotel called the Mondrian, and they used to have a jazz band there every night. I went to the Mondrian and I started drinking Chardonnay at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and crying. I just couldn't be alone in my apartment. I was weeping and weeping, and the waitress took mercy on me and just kept bringing them. I don't know if that was mercy or me in, but I was so disappointed. I have never had a disappointment like that in show business, because I really believed that it was me. So when I went back home the next morning, I started putting everything away, all my research, the books, the film, everything that I had used to prepare just for the audition. And something in my spirit said, don't put that away. Leave that sitting on your coffee table and don't move it. And I didn't. So time went on, maybe another 6 weeks or so. And I get a call from my agent saying, well, it didn't work out with Diane Carroll and Irene Cara, and they've brought in Reuben Cannon, who's a very great casting director. The Color Purple, Women of Brewster, so many things. And He told them, look, you're bringing me on to consult. There's one person I think can do this from beginning to end.
Mhm.
From 17 to, and that's Lynn Whitfield. I think you should see her again. So I get this call from my agents. Okay, you're back in the running. They want to see you again. And I said, hell no. I did. I said, I am not going into an office with people sitting on the other side of a big old polished desk. After they rejected me, I'm not going to do that and feel inferior with hurt feelings and all of that. If they want to talk to me, we need to meet at some neutral place.
Mhm.
I was terrified, and they did it. We met in Century City at like Hamburger Hamlet or some, I don't know, some restaurant. And I said, and it has to be a round table because I just want to feel like an equal, because I had been so hurt, and disappointed. And we did that. And at the end of that, with the director, with the producer, with Reuben Cannon, they said to me, we really believe you're the one. And we need you to audition one more time.
Another time.
Test. And so the screen test started. I had to show up like at 7 a.m. and we did all the makeup, went through several of the ages. They had makeup specialists, costumers, everything. And I went through it. It was a 7-hour audition.
Mm-hmm.
And the next morning, they called and said, the role is yours. They can see no one else but you in the part. And I of course, I was thrilled. But when people make you sweat and jump through hoops, I was like, well, it's about time, doggone it. But yeah, so it was quite a process. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women wanted that part, Diana Ross wanted to do her own version of it and wanted that role. There's not anyone who you can think of who wasn't submitted for that part. So it was quite a process.
So what was your most challenging scene in the film?
Well, the most emotionally challenging scene in the film was the scene where after all of the glorious experience and life that she created for herself and all the success, it was the scene where they come to her home, come to Les Milan
and evict her. Yes.
And evict her. It was the eviction.
Oh.
And it was, for myself, a very intense fear, and for me to experience one of my icons, what she really must have experienced, because the tabloids that we hit where she was on the steps barefoot in a night bonnet, and a quilted robe was almost verbatim to what the actual photo looks like. That they put in Le Mode or whichever newspaper they published it in Paris at the time. So it was the most difficult scene because a Black woman who had had so much was taken to this. And so it took me back to what she experienced of the race riots in St. Louis and what she must have felt like at that time. And it, and because she wasn't the wisest with money, right?
Right. She was too generous.
She was too generous and she was very extravagant. I mean, who needs a whole town with your own post office and your own stamps and your own everything? That's what Les Milan was. She created a whole universe, and didn't maybe, listen so much to her financial advisors or her husband. So that was really difficult because I felt the burden of racism and bad decisions and humility that she felt, And,
well, like I say, when the film came out, I was a mannish little boy, and what was my initial introduction to the film was, there was a rumor that there was going to be a nude woman on HBO at night. This was 1990, And so in mainstream TV, they did not show, I mean, you couldn't curse, you could not, there was no nudity. But like I say, I watched the film and my eyes were opened and my life, changed. So tell me, did you have any reservations being nude on film?
Well, in projects like that, oh wow, look, not bad, Lenny, not bad. Well, before you take on a role like this, there are so many legalese and contracts to what the show and what it was. I was nervous, but I was just nervous that I would look good. I wasn't so nervous about the nudity because at this point I had delved so deeply into her life and why she did what she did and what icon she became for the rest of the world for all time. Because that's why the caption was before Marilyn Monroe, of course,
yes,
Madonna, there was Josephine. And now we can add before any one of them, Beyonce, Cardi B, anybody who, Diana Ross, anybody who really cared about being a great entertainer studied Josephine Baker, right? So the way I approached it, it was what you call an acting adjustment, right? So I said, I'm going to make an adjustment in my head because when I looked at her in the films, right, I saw a freedom and a naivete. I saw this beautiful, like, she was like, oh, love me. And it was, so I changed it from, this is not like some kind of stripping thing or burlesque thing. She is like Eve before the apple. She is frolicking in the freedom of her beauty and not judging herself, not taking on any negative connotation to who she was. So I made that adjustment and it really worked, because actors have to fix things in their mind and their instrument so that it emanates out. And so by the time we got to the day where we were shooting the banana dance, they were like, all right, this is a closed set. Everybody quiet, closed set. Nobody, anybody who doesn't have to be here, get out, go. That. And so we do a take. And then all these people were running up to me with robes and towels and everything and saying, okay, cover. I said, no, I feel great. Just leave me alone. I'm in the flow right now. I really felt the freedom of her spirit that she, as a Black woman in the 1920s, with all the racism that was in Europe and in America and everywhere, was able to present herself in a way that in fact made her an icon and not a woman of ill repute,
And she, she helped the French take down the Nazis.
Well, yeah. She refused to perform in Las Vegas if they didn't, allow Black people to come and see her. I just completely removed any self-judgment that my Baton Rouge, Louisiana professional family would have had about what my dad said. Well, if you're gonna have your behind out like that, it better be damn good. Looked at the poster up on Sunset Boulevard. He was like, oh my God, you better be good. This better amount to something if you're going to be up here like this with your behind out for everybody to see. So I felt probably more freedom than I felt about my body and about being a Black woman and just having absolute freedom. I probably have not felt that much freedom since that time.
And you spoke about your father. Interesting tidbit about your father. I just completed Cicely Tyson's memoir, and your father was the dentist that designed the tooth for the autobiography, the gold tooth for the autobiography of Miss Jane Pickman.
So she sent me the book, and I've received the book, and then I didn't open it, and so I haven't just sat down to savor it yet. But she mentions my dad.
She mentions your dad. She said your dad was the one, because the film took place in your home city, Baton Rouge, and your dad was the one that that designed the gold tooth that she needed to play. Yeah, yeah, Miss Jane Pittman.
So
Yeah.
Cicely Tyson was the first Black actress I ever met, professional actress.
Mm.
And my dad took me to New York, and they met through Donald Shirley, that the Green Book was.
The Green Book, yes, that was Cicely Tyson's cousin.
Yes, so the Green Book, Donald Shirley recorded live at Carnegie Hall and included one of my father's songs that he wrote in it called Dream of a Time. So I got, at like 14 or 15 years old, I got to go to the after party for such a great thing. And in walks this beautiful, like Nubian mess, just delicate and flirty and flitty, and everyone, the heads turned at this party, you know, like Brock Peters and Roscoe Lee Brown, and so many amazing, Leontine Price was there, and they were all Cicely, 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 and she had on a little mini suit, a little black pony mini suit, and I said, "Oh my God, this is so." And everybody's like, "Well, she's the best actress," and blah blah blah. The blacks on Broadway and all of this. And so I got to see a real star of an actress, and I was mesmerized. And I told my dad that night, I have to do this. I have to do it. Like, I already known since I was like 5, but to actually see someone who was doing it, you know, was confirmation for a little girl from Louisiana. But I'm so happy that she said Dad's name in it, and she said it.
Yes. So back to Josephine, I have $1 million question. I'm dying to know this. Were the bananas and the banana skirt, were they real?
Oh, no. Real bananas never would have held up all that twitching. I mean, you can't, you know, that would have been banana pudding, honey. I couldn't. So no, they had craftsmen in Budapest who created all of the costumes. So those bananas were created by an artist, you know, like a set designer, or somebody who worked with a set designer, like for the opera. And it was made out of plastic and cast and painted and glazed, and the belt of the citrine jewels. It was all of those were plastic bananas that they had treated and painted to look so real.
Okay. All righty. Well, I got my answer. You know, when looking at the careers of other iconic actresses such as, you know, Diane Carroll and Cicely Tyson and Ruby Dee, you know, there's a common narrative, especially, you know, in relation to motherhood and their daughters. You know, they put their careers, you know, before their children, and then later on in life they end up, you know, regretting it, and then they spend the latter years of their life, you know, trying to repair the relationships with their daughters. And I read that you were a relatively new mom during the filming of Josephine. So could you tell us, how did you balance motherhood with such a high profile career?
Well, no, this is what happened. So you know, this director who I absolutely despised and was disgusted with, because he couldn't see that I should be Josephine Baker from the very beginning, Brian Gibson. So we go to Budapest, and we have 6 weeks of rehearsal in Los Angeles, about another 3 weeks of rehearsal, you know, pre-recording music, all that. And we go to Budapest and we fall in love. So I fall in love with the director. The director falls in love with me. Now, one thing I know, being the Southern woman that I am, it's like, we could fall in love, right? And we had like, and I would say falling in love, it was like huge Hollywood crushes, just like, oh my God, this is just, he's so wonderful and she's so wonderful. So we're rehearsing When You Begin the Begin.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to rehearsal and George Faison is there, who did The Wiz and all this. And we're working on the choreography. And he says, after this, you should get married and have a baby and have a full life. I was like, really? But now here's my thing. Being so excited that I had this opportunity, I would not take any of it seriously. So it remained like a crush. We did not, have intimacy, but we developed this incredible relationship where I was his actress, the kind of relationship that you have in a marriage, He wanted to protect me and my vision and what I was doing. And I wanted to be everything that he saw for the role, because he was definitely an actor's director. So what that did was, when we finished shooting, we went to London, still unconsummated. This is crazy because it was a Hollywood, and got married. Like right away. We got married right away. And we did that on July the 4th. And by October, I was pregnant. So actually, expecting Grace and hearing about Grace when I knew I was having a daughter was at the premiere of Josephine Baker at MoMA, at MoMA Museum in New York. And I cried and cried and cried. So now something else, being the Southern woman that I am, being a child of divorce, and really being, I was in my 30s. So I wanted to do a good job at mothering. So my story is like almost a little bit of the reverse. Like I knew that Grace would be my greatest creation ever. And I wanted her to be all that she should be. And so maybe sometimes I put my career on hold a little bit, because when Brian and I divorced, So there we are now, mother-daughter. That was at Tyler Perry's studio, the mother-daughter outfits. And this is right when she came back from studying in France. So yeah, so we don't have that. As a matter of fact, I'm still quarantining, I'm not just going out in the world. So she's here with me now. And she's my best friend. Wow. So I think my story is a little bit of the reverse. I think I really had to talk to myself, and it's like, okay, you've got to really do this. I kept working and everything, of course, but that Brian and I divorced when she was 1 year old, like a Hollywood story. Oh, well. But I think, what was supposed to happen happened with Grace. So no, I don't have to backpedal. I don't have to regret. Thank God that I put her on a back burner for my career,
So is it a coincidence that your daughter's name is Grace, and then your daughter in Greenleaf is named Grace?
That is so a coincidence, because our relationship is absolutely opposite. Completely different. Yeah, that was when Oprah said, will you do this? We really want you for this part. And I read the script. I said, oh my God, her name is Grace. It must be a sign. I should do it.
Ms. Whitfield, the most interesting thing is that in preparing for this talk, everyone that I have spoken to who have met you, the first thing that they say, they say she's a really, nice person, down to earth. People are shocked that you're a nice person, because most of your characters, everybody seems to have a love and hate relationship with. Especially, I think your most hated character has to be Brandy in a thin line between love and hate.
beating himself with those oranges. Yes, that was my idea, by the way, to do that. Well, no, here's what I won't do. I won't sell out a woman by simplifying her.
Mhm.
I believe that people are basically, and women are complex, and I think that many of our characters have
Mhm.
been simplified
Mhm.
and made easy to, or glorified so much that, wow, we got this, yes, let's just put her on a platform.
Mhm.
But human beings aren't like that. They make mistakes. They have issues. They have problems. And so, yeah, Brandy Webb was very complicated. Of course, it's a comedy, so it's an extreme,
Yes.
How many women have felt betrayed?
Mhm.
How many women have been told, oh yes, baby, 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 I love you. You the apple of my eye. You're all there is, because women respond to what they hear, men respond to what they see. So, and they end up being hurt and betrayed, right? So this was an extreme of that, but it happens every day, Um,
And you-
Lady May, for instance, she's
Mhm.
complicated. But I believe that if Lady May were a white lady, they wouldn't say, like, why is she so judgmental? Why? Because she's a queen. She's the queen of this kingdom that she's helped create. Yes, it's the kingdom of the Lord, but it's also a place of safety that she created for herself. And no queen is going to back down and give away territory easily.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just like putting all the textures in there. Oh, there she is. After
And
all of that had fallen away, she
Mhm.
you know,
And you
faced the truth about herself.
but what's so interesting about Lady May is that we want to hate and dislike Lady May, but I mean we can't seem to stay angry with Lady May. Why is that?
I don't know, perhaps because I try to give the truth of her vulnerability,
Hmm.
mistakes, you can see the fruits of her mistakes. And basically, at her core, as with so many people, basically, she's a very good person.
Hmm.
Want
Wow.
her family together. It's a very noble cause that she has. Her flaw is that she felt like she knew what was best for everybody, as opposed to listening to people. And I don't know about anybody else, here for this conversation, but I mean, there are a lot of women like that. Like, I know what you need to do. I know the best thing for you is this. And she was desperately trying to hold it together.
So tell me, does Greenleaf make a mockery or does it tell the truth about the Black church culture?
Oh, it absolutely doesn't make a mockery of the church culture. I I think it's pretty realistic, as a
Okay.
composite of different churches. And what it does is it says absolutely, without question, it asks the question, who are you following? Are you
Mm.
following God and looking for his voice? Or are you
Wow.
a
Mm.
man who's put himself on a platform, you know, to be a representative of God? So what I think Greenleaf does is humanize church leadership.
Mm.
That everybody can make mistakes, that people can lead with their ego, that people can lead with greed, because man, there's a verse in the Bible, God said, follow me, because man will always disappoint you. I will not. Stay with me. And so what we did is just humanize it all. And hopefully, you know, a cautionary tale of, be sure about who you're
Mm.
following,
Okay.
and who is your shepherd? What's going on with your shepherd, who's leading you in your relationship with God, And fortunately, the Christian community and church community and megachurch community supported us. They weren't mad at it, as they say. They weren't mad at it. They said this story needs to be told.
So tell me, there's been a rumor that there's going to be some kind of spinoff show. Are we going to see more of Lady Mae?
Well, if a spinoff is done, I've been told that yes, Lady Mae will be a central character in the spinoff. But we'll see. Everything is changing so much. Everybody's at home. Who knows, when everything will happen. But I would be very excited to explore what happens to Lady Mae after such a loss of a life partner. What happened, when you become the leader of the church, and what decisions would she make, and how will she, what kind of a bite will she take out of life to continue life or not, or the relationship with the kids and everything. So yeah, I think could be, if framed properly, a very interesting spinoff.
You're in. It's in my opinion, I think that you're in kind of the best season of life, because you've had the opportunity to work with the legends, with Ruby Dee, Diane Carroll, Cicely Tyson, and your peers. Have been Felicia Rashad, Oprah Winfrey. But then you've had also the opportunity to work with the aspiring generation of actors and actresses.
Yeah.
And so therefore, what I'd like to know is, what did you learn from the legends, and what do you hope to teach the younger generation?
Well, I would never generalize about legends, I can't generalize and like that, but I learned a lot from Ruby Dee about art and family and activism, and how, she combined them all, and to be with her later in life, like the first Black Girls Rock, and see all her grandchildren, her daughter, everyone there with her, and the support and nurturing of keeping a family intact,
Mm-hmm.
I learned also from Ruby Dee the expansiveness of her poetry and all of that, From Cicely, I said in my tribute to her, early on, I learned something, because she called my dad at like 4:00 in the morning, and because they were concerned about, this is a long way round to tell you what I learned from Cicely Tyson. They were concerned because she was so young about her being too beautiful, and that people would buy that she would be the older Jane Pittman. So she was trying to solve that problem. 4:00 in the morning, she calls my dad and she said, Valerian, I figured out how to, detract from her beauty and bring age, and that I need a gold crown. And I need it like in 24 hours, when she would shoot. So what I learned from Miss Tyson was, an actor's process,
Wow. So tell us, have you had any dry seasons in your career?
Of course, I have, times that there were things that I would like to have done that, other people were chosen for, or, needing another breakthrough. There was, after Josephine, and then I went to New York to do Dear Detective with Bill Cosby. And then there was a kind of dry period where I was in New York. I didn't want to raise Grace in Los Angeles. And so, yeah, I mean, things come and go. But then a few years later came Thin Line Between Love and Hate. and then, he's by you back to
Mhm.
back. And so a career is made of ebbs and flows, it's not all, well, not for me anyway. It hasn't been, all a bed of roses. And there've been times when I wonder, who was it? I think Jack Nicholson said, you know,
Mhm.
after every job, he has this fear that he's never going to work again. So
Mhm.
that's always an actor's fear.
Wow, wow. Well, I tell you what, now we're going to go to something more fun. We're going to do a quick lightning round.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to begin here. Okay, favorite food?
Uh, anything smothered, gravy,
Okay.
rice,
Least favorite food?
sushi.
Favorite type of music?
Um, well, I would have to say R&B/jazz. I've been loving what D Nice is doing, keeping us all going in this pandemic.
Texting or talking?
Talking. Absolutely.
Favorite city in the world?
Oh, favorite American city with all of its problems is New Orleans, and I'd say my favorite city outside is Cape Town.
Okay. Best piece of advice you received?
You're doing excellent work. Now make it all work for you, by Miss
If,
Tyson.
if you had a time machine, where and when would you go?
Interesting. In a time machine, I think I would go back to the 90s.
Okay. Nickname your parents used to call you?
Lynn Cherie.
Okay. Last song you downloaded?
Nina Simone, which Mississippi Goddamn.
Uh-oh. Biggest pet peeve?
Boring things.
Okay.
I like being bored. I like interesting topics, interesting people, interesting,
Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter?
Instagram.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Black or sweet?
Sweet.
Okay. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Oh, every language in the world.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Okay. Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
First celebrity crush?
Denzel Washington, I think.
Yes, and you were his wife in the story about a principal in the mid
Yes.
80s. Yes.
Yes.
Are you an early bird or night owl?
Night owl, but I still wake up early. I'm sleep deprived.
Favorite quarantine junk food?
Oh God, potato chips, kettle chips, plain. Love it. And a vodka gimlet. Great combination.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Childhood TV show. I think because of the memories with my family, it would be the Ed Sullivan Show, because I was so little, but everybody, my grandparents, everybody would gather around the TV to watch.
Okay, now this is now this could have some implications. Your black card could be revoked if you don't answer this right. Sweet potato or pumpkin pie?
Oh, child, please. Potato, what are you talking about? Oh, pumpkin pie and a holiday without rice and gravy. I do not understand it. I mean, I like mashed potatoes and everything, but I have to have rice and gravy. But yes, absolutely sweet potato pie. Do I keep my card? Do I keep my card though?
Hey, you get to keep it. Are you a good cook?
Yeah, yes, I am.
What are some of your specialties that your family likes for you to make?
Oh, well, God, my mother, they're always begging me, but I can't make it all the time because it is absolute death food. I make the best pralines ever. I ace
Mm,
people line up. They start bargaining with me. I could like
mm.
have their souls for my pralines. And then like last night, 3 o'clock in the morning, my daughter and I had lots to do. Grace and I had lots to do. I was really hungry. Y'all, I
Mhm.
fried catfish, oh slot, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was divine. It was
Mm,
it was so good, yes. And I'm a really, I make really great gumbo.
mhm.
My red beans and rice aren't so great. But you know, Louisiana, being from Louisiana, there's a very high bar for good food. So,
Mm.
you know, I can't
Wow.
fool around. And my mom was such a good cook.
So at this moment, I would like to open it up to the audience. So the audience have any questions for Ms. Whitfield? If so, I will allow our tech person to um, prompt you to turn on your camera so that you can speak live with Ms. Whitfield.
Let me see.
Just a moment here.
Okay.
Carl, are there any questions?
No questions?
Yes,
Okay,
I have a question.
all right.
All right, so yes, my name is Bria McAdoo. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, I was saying, okay, so I'm saying, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate is my favorite movie. I was gonna ask, what do you think was the hardest line in the movie?
Oh, you know, strangely enough, that those lines came very easily to me. But the ones that I wanted to be sure that the writer worked on were to really explain like why she was doing what she was doing was when she was standing over him. I mean, God, I am so not, you know, for yeah, I am for gun control, okay? But was standing there, you know, with that gun, you know, and explaining that she wasn't just doing this for herself, she was doing it for all women. And so I really wanted them to work on that monologue because that is what was at the very heart of it. And and I wanted it to be understood that it's not good to mess with people's hearts. And then other lines that just came so easily to me, like when you know, like lines that I made up, like, okay, I got your little pickaninny in here. It was like, oh my God, where did that come from? That's so mean. But they, you know, it spoke to where she was, you know, and the way she spoke to Della Reese and everything. A lot of that stuff was improv, and it was, unfortunately, it came fairly easily.
Awesome, awesome. Any other questions?
Hi,
Hi,
Miss Whit.
Lynn. Oh,
Hi, my name is Risha. I'm in Delaware. I'm an actress as well. I'm aspiring up and coming, mostly doing comedy. I asked the question in the chat. First of all, I want to say I love you. I followed your career for a long time, and you are so mesmerizing and captivating. You just pull us in. But my question is, in this pandemic, how does one stay sharp on their craft, outside of virtual?
It's so, so, so difficult. I would say, do you have acting partners? Like, do you have an acting class that you work on with?
Yes.
Okay. I would say that you can still rehearse virtually, right?
Yes.
There's a school in Washington, D.C., a high school for the arts called Duke Ellington School for the Performing Arts. And I taught a scene study class, and I was surprised at how much they received. So I would stay working with your acting partner. And guess what? You can also sort of work on, film technique versus stage, because you're right there, right?
Mhm.
So you can actually use the rehearsal process to like, this is what it would be like, if you were in film. Of course, you don't have a camera that can follow you and walk with you, but your work becomes more under a microscope because it is that intimate. So I would say do that. And maybe if you have, scene study partners or people that you work at, like on your stand-up and all that,
Right,
have a virtual kind of stand-up thing,
right.
you
We
know,
do.
and get the feedback and all of that. If you have an eye that you trust, have them there and still take the notes and all of that. And then I don't know, I think we all have to just work on keeping our hearts open and our spirits open, to spontaneity in this. It's really difficult. And some days are just so difficult, for me. Like right now, my goal is that I reconnect with, I see some of my friends, they've just been working out and I haven't been doing that, but to sort of reconnect with body consciousness is
Wow.
my next goal, because I, it's just so easy to feel put upon and to get like, oh, okay, nobody's here, nobody's gonna see me, I'm at home.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I that's something I think, because if we keep our instruments alive and working well, then we'll
Mhm.
still be ready. But I think scene partners online virtually would be really interesting, because then and you could record it and you can go back and look at your own work and see if you believe it, or see where you were acting and not really being, and
Gotcha.
whether you believe it, that would be fun, I think.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you so.
There's a Carmen Shepherd had a question. Carmen, if you would like to still ask your question, you could take yourself off of mute and display yourself on video and speak with Ms. Whitfield. Okay. Next, we have a question. Mr. Abdullah had a great question. If you would like to add yourself to the screen and unmute yourself, you may ask your question.
Shepherd's on now.
Okay.
Well, I'm unmuting myself, but I'm not in a position to put myself on the screen. But I was such a fan. I could not believe you were not Josephine Baker when I was looking at the irony of all this is that I just read the book and seen some clips of Josephine Baker, and I mean the skill, the real embodiment of the characterization of her movements, her antics, her emotional, I would say, switching back and forth. It just was her, and I just wanted to know, as you read this part, as you really studied her, did you somehow feel some attachment, because you just really brought her out?
I did. I felt an incredible attachment. I felt like I was a vessel that I needed to carry her spirit, that I needed to try to understand what her emotional arc was, who she was. I got so much of it from actual photographs and still photographs, which is where I came to know that she was rather alone in the world, even though she had all this glorious stuff all around her. So I did embody her. And let me tell you, Josephine Baker is such a diva. Listen, if something wasn't going right, something would happen. If it wasn't the best, like a flat would fall down, or I would get hit with this thing like, excuse me, but these costumes are not good enough. This fabric is too cheap. We got to get better fabric. Like I felt her. I felt I felt the permission, and when something wasn't representing her properly, it sounds spooky, but I would take the authority, even though this was my biggest opportunity I ever had to stand up for her. Like when they were introducing the Rainbow Tribe, they had 11 babies, but they didn't have the African child. And something just grabbed me, and I was like, we can't shoot this, because if you don't have the African child, that says something about how she felt about her and her people, and it's not the truth. So there was always, her energy was looming the whole time, and I was so blessed that obviously she gave us the go ahead, in her spirit. And yeah, I stayed connected as much as I could, and that you could gather some of that, because acting is not a spooky thing, but I just wanted to honor her and respect her, even her complexity and mistakes, the right way, And thank you so much that you saw it all. It makes me feel like I accomplished my goal.
Well, you did. And I'm telling you, I just fell in love with it. And you go, girl.
Thank you so much.
Okay, do we have time for one more, Jamal?
One more question, Miss Carmen Shepherd.
Great.
We can't hear you, Miss Shepherd. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Miss Whitfield, you are the epitome of grace. I love you in every movie, everything you played in.
Yes, yes, yes.
So my question is, how has your faith or beliefs guided you through the years in the roles that you played?
Well, I tell you, after the divorce from Brian Gibson, the director of Josephine, Grace's dad and everything, and I had the Emmy, I got the Golden Globe nomination, I had, all kinds of acclaim, and then bam, this divorce, and then bam, just life. And so that's where I made my commitment. And so I pretty much, when I am really conscious, right? It's like a lot of Lady May, I do all my preparation, I do the study, I know the lines, I know I have my game plan, right? And then I ask God to show up and show out, and to surprise me, like where, and so like the very last sermon of Lady May, Make Me New, we had done it twice, in the distant shot and then the medium shot, and we did my close-up shot, like, and it was like, I said, God, I really need your spirit here. You gotta take charge of this. And I got real quiet, and God showed up and showed out with me, and really reached into the truth of that prayer and that yearning to have the newness of God, the next chapter, the everything. And so when I look at the take that they chose, it was like, oh, I was so grateful, So when I'm at my best, God is at the middle of everything. But you know how we get like, oh, we're controlling this, or, I think I'm hearing God, but maybe it's just how I want it to be, So I'm only human. So sometimes if I'm not so good, just know I probably didn't do what I just told you I did for Lady May. But yeah, God is in the mix on everything, because I'm pretty much not the best without remembering that God loves me and God has my back,
Thank you very much for all your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lynn Whitfield.
I'm about to have separation anxiety. Oh, thank you for having me. And
Thank you all for tuning in.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
You. We love you, Miss Whitfield.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
supporting.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Love
you.
you.
Love you.
Thanks for coming.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Love you.
Bye.
You were on.
Bye.
Bye.